call the District 228 Board of Education meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Canning?
Here.
Mrs. Gleason is here. Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Mrs. Jones?
Here.
Mrs. Camworth? Here. Mrs. Stearns? Here. And Mrs. Gressler?
Here. Staff will pledge allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a motion to approve the August 21st regular and closed session meeting minutes?
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Jones, second by Mr. Canning. Any discussion?
Mrs. Jones? Aye. Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason abstained. Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Camworth?
Aye.
Mrs. Stearns? Aye. Mrs. Gressler?
Aye. Can I get a motion to approve the September 11th, 2018 Committee of the Whole minutes? So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Camworth, second by Mrs. Gleason. Any discussion?
Mrs. Camworth? Aye. Mrs. Gleason? Aye. Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones? Aye. Mrs. Stearns? Aye. Mrs. Gressler?
Aye. Next, we have the Board Recognition Award.
Good evening. So I would like to ask Police Chief Mitchell Davis, would you please come up? You all should have received a copy of this bio in the board packet. So I'm not going to read the information that you have there. I'm going to share some additional stuff with you guys. So we have been very fortunate to have Chief Mitchell Davis as a partner with us since he's been here working at the Village of Hazel Crest. We have established a very positive working relationship with him, and on a day-to-day basis, we have been supported by the police department and him addressing any issues that we may have encountered or come up with, whether it's being reactive or proactive. We've been able to work with him, and also through many organizations and resources that he's affiliated with, we've been able to benefit. Some of those include the Juvenile Justice Council, which is a conglomerate whose purpose is to develop programs to decrease juveniles ending up in the criminal charges. Some of you may also be interested to know that there's an upcoming meeting of that group on October the 3rd at Bremen High School, where the organization is going to discuss their efforts today. In addition, through the Chiefs Association with the Illinois Association of Chief of Police and the NAACP, we have been able to participate in what they call World Cafes. They host these cafes, and their efforts are to bridge the gap between law enforcement and people of color, addressing needs, concerns, and plans moving forward. The last one that we attended was held at Governor State University in July. We have been invited through his affiliations and associations to participate in a variety of trainings and workshops that include the Bulletproof Mind, which was a conference addressed to deal with people who have experienced trauma. Another example through his affiliations has been us being informed and sharing with our students through the I Am a Gentleman organization resources to our students. Last May, this group gave out 1,000 suits to 1,000 young men. So our students were informed of this and had the opportunity to participate. The students that participated were given a suit, a shirt, a tie, and a haircut before they left that event. Chief Davis and some of his police officers have participated in our Male Youth Summit as a presenter, where he taught an abbreviated version of his workshop, Understanding the Law in Your Community. This workshop was specifically geared to educating young people on how to deal with police or encounters with the police. He was also instrumental in recommending and securing additional presenters for our youth summit as well. So through our relationship with the chief, he has always been readily available to participate and help out, whether it's with crowd control, investigations, our parent meetings, basically anything that we've asked him to do, he's done. And so we are grateful for his and the department's assistance, and we look forward to working with him in the Hazel Crest Police Department for the next at least 2 years with me. So we're thankful. Appreciate it.
Chief Davis, on behalf of the board, we would like to present you with this Volunteer Excellence Award Board of Education presents this award to Chief Mitchell Davis, Hazel Crest Police Department, September 2018. You have helped to provide a positive learning environment for the students of District 228 by the time and talents you share. Thank you for caring. Congratulations.
All right, next we will have the public hearing for the adoption of the proposed 2018-19 District 228 budget.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the District 228 2018-2019 budget presentation. Tonight is a really exciting night for me because I have the honor and the pleasure of presenting the balanced budget to the board members and community of District 228. And while yes, I did input the numbers on the pages, make the graphs, compile the data, and put this presentation together, unfortunately, I cannot take all of the credit for this accomplishment. Tonight is a culmination of the years of hard work and dedication that my predecessors and administrative teams in years past have been working towards. This is going to be an exciting year for District 228. We've set some pretty impressive goals. We're building some incredibly impressive facilities, and we're constantly working towards bettering this district for the good of the students, staff, and community. Maintaining the programs and opportunities that we provide for our students always has been and always will be the #1 priority for District 228. While I do believe this moment is definitely something worth celebrating, there are a few things that need to be highlighted and kept in the back of our minds as we go through the presentation tonight. A major component to this balanced budget is the evidence-based funding provided by the state of Illinois. This year, we are estimating almost an additional $2.5 million in state funding. These additional dollars definitely help us overcome our historical deficits, but I do not believe this is something we can rely on in years to come. I think it's clear to see that balanced budgets do not happen overnight, and it's important to note that a balanced budget will be extremely difficult to sustain with so many factors out of the district's control. Perhaps the most crucial piece of this budget puzzle, if you will, is understanding that it's extremely important that we find the right balance within the district. Unfortunately, we cannot predict what is to come in the future, and it is imperative that the district uses every opportunity to ensure that we are prepared and ready for the unexpected. But with that being said, let's take a look at this year's budget. The first piece I'd like to highlight is the addition of our alternative education program, also known as our Delta and Achieve programs, hosted by South Suburban College. Both of these programs provide an opportunity for students to learn in a non-traditional setting, and it helps the district specifically address individual student needs. We're so excited to be able to host this program for our students and provide them with alternative learning environments. Along with that, we have some additional student support personnel. We've got 2 social workers, 2 guidance counselors, and an additional dean, which helps us provide more resources and support for our students within the building. This year, we have more than doubled our textbook budget from last year. This is because this will be the first time in over 10 years since the district has purchased new textbooks. But along with that also comes 6-year ebook licenses, which help support our changing resources and accompany our one-to-one platform as we move towards a more digital age. Along those same guidelines, we have some additional technology updates. This year, we have 50% of our staff using new iPads and Apple Pencils, and we do believe that next year we should be fully integrated with all of the teachers using the new models. We've also added 9 new security cameras in each building and an additional server. These help us ensure that we're taking all of our safety measures and all of the precautions to make sure that our students and staff are safe at all times. The last piece of this, we have included 23 digital signage TVs throughout the building. Each building got about 4 to 7 depending on the space that was available. These are great resources for our staff to be able to post information quickly and efficiently, and they look great in schools. As I mentioned at the beginning, we are expecting $2.5 million more than we got last year in evidence-based funding. These funds will be allocated to our education fund, operations and maintenance fund, and our IMRF fund. This helps us balance the budget in each fund, not just overall. As I highlighted though in the beginning of the presentation, we should not expect to see such drastic increases in the years to come. We also have expenditure contingencies in our Ed Fund, O&M Fund, and our Transportation Fund. These are built into the budget to provide funding for unexpected expenditures. And as I mentioned last week, this money will not be used without the Board of Education's approval. These are just there as an added measure of protection for us. One of the most exciting things that we have happening this year is the addition of our field houses. All of our campuses are approximately 30% complete and are scheduled to be substantially complete come June of 2019. It's important to remember here when we got the qualified school construction bond monies, it needed to be spent by December of 2019. Fortunately for us, we don't anticipate that being a problem this year. This slide, I just wanted to provide a breakdown of what has been spent of our QSCD monies in years past. This year, we're starting fiscal year 2019 with $35.1 million remaining from our QSCD monies. So far, through our September bills, we have spent 10.6. The other piece that goes along with this is something that is not new to the district, just a little different this year. Typically in years past, you've seen a working cash abatement to the education fund. This year, we actually need the money in our capital projects funds to help finish off paying for all of our field houses. So just a little bit different than we have done in years past, but this is a common practice for the district and something that we've done for many years. Moving forward to some of the more financial history and data, this slide exemplifies that the district historically has spent more than it has taken in. It's important to remember that at one time, the district was spending between $5 and $6 million more than it was taking in. This graph highlights that in FY 15, 16, and 17, we had decreased that amount to about $2 to $3 million. You can also see here where that trend shifts. In 2018, we begin to see the revenues exceeding the expenditures, and it's important to remember that these numbers are unaudited, so assuming that our projections are relatively accurate, we would expect to see that surplus this year, last year, in FY 2018. And then we can also expect to see it again this year, but probably not in years to come. This slide is important to highlight because it breaks down exactly where the district spends its money. This clearly exemplifies that salaries and benefits make up the majority of our operating expenditure budget, as they comprise 74% of our total operating expenditures. There's a page in your budget binders that breaks down that exactly by dollar amount, revenues, and expenditures as well. That would be the first page of your historical data section. So as I mentioned in the previous slides, last year, in 2018, the district for the first time ran its first natural surplus in many years. This is predicated on two things. The first of which being our additional $3.5 million in evidence-based funding from the state and the $2.1 million QSCD subsidy that the district received. As you can see, with the FY19 budget, we are still projecting a surplus, but it is going to be significantly less than we are anticipating seeing with the end of FY 2018. Again, predicated on the fact that the increases that we're seeing in evidence-based funding will not be as drastic. So I would expect to see the additional $2.5 million this year and then I believe it's going to level out. So I don't believe that we will ever get less, but I don't think that we can expect to see these huge jumps in evidence-based funding coming up. This slide highlights the estimated ending fund balances as of June 30th, 2019. This is estimated to be approximately $22.9 million at the end of this fiscal year. The state of Illinois standard says that your total operating fund balance should be 25% of your total operating expenditure budget. This slide highlights that we are right there with the state standard at 26%. So just to wrap up my presentation, I would like to thank my administrative team, the department supervisors, and the building administrators for all of the time and effort that's been put into this year's budget. I've mentioned before, the budget is something that is constantly looked at and analyzed. Many hours have been put into going over plans and what we're looking forward to this year, what we know is coming down the line, in addition to trying to expect the unexpected. I think we've done a pretty decent job keeping the lines of communication open with our teams, and I think that is definitely something that's portrayed and evident in this budget. That's all I have for tonight, so if anyone has any questions?
Congratulations. Awesome.
Over here. Good.
Nice job.
I'd like to open the floor to the public for any questions or comments about the budget. About the budget. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
I just think this is an exciting time for us. I've been beating my gums for a little bit now about feeling really good about how we, what I believe, turned the corner, and the presentation tonight proves it. So congratulations to everybody involved. And, you know, we do have to mention our past financial guy, Tom O'Malley, because he did have a lot to do with it. So congratulations to him. And Brittany, congratulations to you. Thank you very much for doing that for our community.
I definitely want to extend a thank you to everybody that had a part to play in all this, and I'm sure, you know, the administration was a huge part of it, but the teachers, the staff, and, you know, everybody that contributed to the success. I really want to say thank you, congratulations to everybody.
Move to close the floor to public hearing was ended. And I move to close the floor to public.
Second.
Mrs. Gleason, aye. Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mrs. Camworth? Aye. Mrs. Stearns?
Aye.
Mrs. Ressler?
All right, next we'll have our school presentation.
So, we were so excited to learn that we were changing the format of the presentations that we actually lined up two. To brag and not really
See?
So, give us an inch, we'll take a mile, right? So, but before we do that, there's two quick things that I'd like to do. One, you guys know earlier this week it was with a heavy heart that we had to announce the passing of one of our teachers, Mr. Bob Kaliska, and I just wanted to kind of just say some words on behalf of him tonight. Bob taught math here at Hillcrest High School. He started working for Bremen High School District 228 in 1991. He worked as a full-time substitute teacher in all four schools from 1991 until 1995, and then again from 2001 to 2003. At that time, he was teaching math and biology. In July of 2004, he was hired as a full-time math teacher here at Hillcrest, and he had been here ever since. During his tenure, Mr. Valiska has coached soccer and basketball. He also served as a sponsor for several clubs and organizations, but most notably and recently, he headed up our Math Leagues Club. Under his direction, that organization grew to well over 70 plus members. So Mr. Valiska used to brag about wanting to make sure that he beat 04 to Tinley Park because his dad and his brother, of course, also worked in our district. And he was able to see a couple of times us winning a few of those titles, so that was nice. But certainly, he had been out on medical leave for the last year and a half, but we are certainly going to miss him, and please, as we go about our daily business, we make sure we keep his family in our thoughts and our prayers. So thank you for that. In addition to that, I just have a student that I wanted to recognize, a young man by the name of Keith Whitted. So I'm not even sure where, but this book popped up on my desk. So Keith, Mom, can you come up, Ms. Whitted? This book popped up on my desk, and it was quite impressive because it was written by a student here at Hillcrest. So I read through it, and so I told Dr. Young, before I knew that we had changed the format, we need to have this young man at the board meeting because he just did something that was absolutely outstanding. So I want to spotlight Keith. Keith is a sophomore at Hillcrest High School. He authored that book entitled Keith's Heart. As a result of writing the book, he has had an opportunity to travel and participate in national conferences, sharing his story and speaking about his journey. The most recent conference that he participated in, there's a handout in there, was a conference Uniting Leaders for Change, which was hosted by an organization called Cities United. The conference was held in Knoxville, Tennessee in August. The theme of the conference was Power in Your Position. And it was young people talking about the power in their positions in their lives and through their journeys that they have been through. So Keith's book is just one example of the ways in which he has been able to express his feelings after the tragic loss of his father at the age of 9. I also, in addition, today learned that Keith was just recently received a special certificate from the National Society of High School Scholars for his academic achievements. So we wanted to salute and congratulate him. He's not feeling well tonight, so his mom is here on his behalf. Get acknowledged. So we wanted to say, great job, Mom. You're raising a good son, and we're proud that he's a Hillcrest Pop. That's not
Thank you.
So, Marco, you ready?
Yeah.
How many of you guys are familiar with Bill Nye, the science guy? So you know that he's always trying to find ways to make science interesting and fun. Well, Mr. Poliak is our Bill Nye. So today he's going to talk about and explain how his students participated in a project using technology, yay for our iPads, where they measured the circumference of the Earth with other students from across the globe. International project. So Mr. Poliak, take it away.
I'm not actually going to be discussing that, so help me out. Where am I?
Not
There we
that
are.
one, that's
Got it.
what
I see. Yasmin Williams. Ms. Williams is one of my honors physics students, and she participated in the actual measurements that we took, and she's the one you're going to listen to. So. That's funny, guys.
Surprisingly, in the age of space travel and satellite photography, belief in a flat Earth is a growing trend, and that's the literals. The Earth is round, and people have known it for a long, long time. The Babylonians suspected as much. The Greeks knew it and taught it for over 2,000 years. The Arabs and Chinese figured it out at least by 500 AD. Eratosthenes is known as the father of geography and inventor of the idea of latitude and longitude. Over 2,000 years ago, he used shadows to measure the angle of the sun at noon on the summer solstice, the longest day of the year. Then his research team walked 5,000 miles out to get the measurements in a different location exactly a year later. With this simple information, he was able to calculate the size of the Earth. His results were very good, but the measurements were challenging to make and impossible to duplicate here at Hillcrest. No students were willing to walk 5,000 miles just to do a physics lab, not even the honors. When Mr. Poliak figured out that if we would measure at carefully chosen locations, we could make the observations on any day of the year, and we wouldn't have to walk anywhere. We are now pausing for dramatic effect. In order to gain convincing results, we need a location that all experience solar noon at the same time. So Mr. Poliak sent emails and made phone calls to several schools on the same longitudinal line as Hilton. 3 responded. Our international coalition was now ready to collect data. This isn't a physics class, so we won't go through all the calculations in detail. Simply put, we measured the shadow of the meter stick at a distance located at the solar noon in early September. Notice the difference in shadow lengths, even though they were measured on the same day at exactly the same time. A simple diagram of our results shows the absurdity of a flat earth model. To get our results for 3 schools at once, the sun would need to be in 3 different places at the same time. With 4 schools, the sun would need to be put in 4 different locations simultaneously, and at every additional measuring site will require the sun to be at additional locations, all at the same time. Remember the different lengths of the shadows? These differences in length allow us to determine the angle between the earth of each location. And that angle allowed us to calculate the size of the earth. Our results were remarkable. By comparing the angle measured in Ontario with the angle measured in Alabama, both on September 6th, we were able to calculate the polar circumference of the earth to within 0.27%. We were off by about 1/400 of the actual size. When drawn to scale, the difference is hardly even visible.
Those are drawn to scale.
Next year, we're going to need help from the Spanish classes. I'm done my presentation. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask Mr. Poliak.
How did you come up with the formula to calculate the circumference of the earth?
It's a good question. And the answer is it's based very much on Eratosthenes' work 2,500, almost 2,500 years ago. So the math that I did was not remarkable. It wasn't noteworthy or even groundbreaking in any way. What's significant about this was that we were able to use the technology to do it. So that we could, it occurred to me that with the use of emails and other sorts of instantaneous sort of communications that we have now, we don't have to go anywhere. We can get these measurements, we can get them simultaneously, we can get them on any day. We don't have to wait for the summer solstice. We can do it anytime the sun is out, as long as we do it at solar noon, the point where the sun is directly straight overhead, and as long as all of our measurements are all on the same longitudinal line. And once it occurred to me that that could be done, it was just a matter of contacting the schools and getting a hold of the teachers to do it, which is actually much harder than it sounds. I sent out dozens of emails and no one responded, so I asked my administrators to make some phone calls and start reaching out to other schools, and eventually we got somebody that at 3 locations, one in Ontario, one in Ishpeming, Michigan, which is that upper peninsula, which I didn't realize until I actually started doing this. I didn't realize that Michigan was straight north of us. Maybe I shouldn't admit that in front of you. Upper peninsula thing sticks out. Anyway, and then the last one was in Alabama. The other significant thing about it is that we did something similar a couple of years ago, where we calculated the size of the Earth. But in contacting and discussing the results with some of these flat Earth people on the internet, they questioned my results by suggesting that it was possible to get those exact results on a flat Earth if the sun was close and small. And when I sat down and looked at it, they're right. If the sun was very close and very small and the Earth was flat, we could get the results from Hillcrest and from Alabama, and it would still work. What doesn't work is if you get those measurements from 3 or more locations at once. then it's no longer possible to duplicate those results on any system except around Earth. I don't know how to do it, but at some point I'm trying to find out how to do some sort of write-up in one of the educational magazines or something. So I've reached out to some other folks at the school that have a little more experience with that sort of thing. Possibly potential for maybe doing a conference or something. Most of the really good ideas that I have, I borrow from other people. But this one feels like mine. I don't know if anyone else has ever done this.
We'll get you in touch with Jamie. She'll help you.
We've spoken already. She sent me some information about conferences and stuff, and I talked with Ms. Walsh, and she's got me information about some of the different educational magazines. Say again?
NPR.
Okay.
And NASA has a program also with these types of when I was in Colorado at the NASA Center, they are very intrigued by this very type of thing that you're doing here, is measuring the Earth.
How to contact NASA.
Well, they have an educational program which works in collaboration with schools, so maybe that'll be a
But I do want other people to know how to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Poliak. The last presentation, and it's a brief one, but we, a few years back, our students at Hillcrest used to have to travel to other buildings to take advanced placement courses. And with the help and support and assistance of the superintendent and Dr. Williams, we've been able to grow our AP program. And so Dr. Young is going to just talk about that growth over the last few years and how students have done. And then it'll culminate in a brief presentation where our students had a great experience in field trip that they took over the summer, an international trip. First time it was an international travel for our students. So it was really cool.
Thank you. All right, thank you. So yeah, I'll be brief before you this evening, but I want you to kind of just take a look at what we're doing in our AP program and the success that we've been having thus far. I guess I'll start with discussing the general AP philosophy, and that is AP for all. It's a philosophy that we believe in here in District 228 in Hillcrest High School, and that is we want to give access to AP to as many students as possible. Our students that take the AP courses are actually more prepared and more likely to graduate in college, and our research shows that access, I will fly here, that access benefits our students of color. Actually, greatest gains occur with the students of color. So expanding access to AP students will help all students learn the skills that they need in college. Next thing, everybody has heard of ESSA, right? The 2015 Every Student Succeeds Act. Well, part of that act says that by, I think it's 2032, 90% of students will be college and career ready. And so as part of ESSA, AP is able to contribute to a student being college and career ready in two ways. The first way is that if a student just simply takes an AP course and earns an A, B, or C in an AP course, that will be a contributing factor to them being college and career ready. The second way a student can be college and career ready is that if they take an AP course, take an AP exam, and score a 3 or higher, they are, again, that's another contributing factor to them being college and career ready. AP Basics, you all probably know this already, that AP courses are college level courses offered in high school. The courses reflect the content and skills taught at introductory level college courses. Students take AP exams at the end of the year that reflect their mastery of the content. A score of 3 or higher typically earns students college level credit, and also they usually skip a course or two once they enter college. And lastly, taking AP courses actually is valued for college admission. So when they take a look at a student's transcript and they see that that student has taken several AP courses, it actually helps them in their admissions into that college. So here in District 228 in Hillcrest High School, we support our AP students in several ways.
The first one is the AP Boot Camp. So the AP Boot Camp is a program for our incoming freshmen. And they come in and they have 4 days, usually with an AP teacher, in which they experience some of the rigor and the content of an AP course. So right now we do that for our freshman students entering, going into AP Geography. Here at Hillcrest High School, we're able to offer tutoring for students through Sylvan Learning Center, and actually they have specific AP tutoring for our students. Our teachers actually offer sessions for students the closer they get to the exams in May. So some of them will hold after-school sessions. Some of them will use our Saturday school platform to actually hold AP sessions. And the final way that we support our students is that students who cannot afford to take AP exams, and sometimes we have students that are taking 2 or 3 AP exams. So at $90 a pop, that can be for a student taking 2 is $180, 3 $270. So it can be very expensive. So fortunately, we are able to offer fee waivers or lower that fee through our Title I support or either through the state of Illinois. So our AP staff at Hillcrest High School. So here at Hillcrest, currently we're offering 12 AP courses. We're proud to say that we now have back AP Chemistry. So that's less students that we have that are traveling. So we'll try to hold on to our AP Chemistry course. But currently, those are the teachers. We have 2 teachers actually that teach 2 courses. But that's our current AP staff. All right, so now to celebrate some of the success over the years. So in the last 8 years, and notice the red trend line going upward. So in the last 8 years, our exam testers, so the total students taking the exam has moved from 44 to 112 in the last 8 years. So that's a success for Hillcrest High School. To move up that way, the next one is the trend line continues up. So the number of exams have increased at Hillcrest High School also. We've gone from 49 exams in 2011 to 195 exams taken in 2018. So that's 400% increase for us. That's more kids taking AP, more kids with opportunities to score a 3 or better, or just more kids with the exposure to the content and skills that are necessary. So here, the trend line is upward also, is that, and these are the number of students that are scoring 3 or higher on an AP exam. So in 2011, we had 9 students that scored at a 3 or higher. And in 2018, we had 31 students that scored 3 or higher. So that number continues to increase, and we're really working to increase that number even more. And so, by putting some of the things in place that I mentioned earlier, and doing even more, we should see that number increase. All right, so how do our teachers support in addition to the other opportunities? Our teachers give our students unique opportunities through AP field trips. So some here, our institute, the Chicago Architectural Tour, the DuSable Museum, Europe, Fair Oaks Farm, Millennium Park, Museum of Science and Industry, the Oriental Theater, Starved Rock State Park. So all of these unique places actually, they match the curriculum, and they go along with one of the courses that we presented earlier. So to highlight, I like to highlight a trip that was taken late spring of this past year, 2018, and that was a European trip that our students took. So we had 2 teachers, Ms. Mulcahy and Ms. Scarmella, take 13 Hillcrest students over to Europe. And as you see, that's a coach bus in a Hillcrest parking lot. And they departed on May 31st, and they went to London. And these are just general pictures, so they spent June 1st through 3rd in London. That's by the subway there. You can't see it unless you're close, but on the right are the 2 teachers, 2 wonderful ladies that took our students. It had been a while, actually, since Hillcrest has done anything like this. So when this came up, we were very excited, that our students were going to be traveling like this. And actually, it's caught on, in our building somewhat, So we have a lot of teachers asking questions now, and they want to do quite a few things. And through the success of something like this, our other teachers are inspired to do more. Here at the Natural History Museum, Buckingham Palace, on to Paris, June 3rd through 5th, Notre Dame Cathedral. Well, that's actually fucking true. I should hold that now. 2 teachers, 2 kids with that high five there. All right, Napoleon's tomb there. There's a closer picture of the two teachers. Eiffel Tower. Palace of Versailles. June 6th through 9th in Italy. All right.
So it's important to note that these teachers did this at home.
Yes.
This was not on school section. They just got together and ran their own.
All right.
It's a
And
particular AP class.
yeah, thanks for asking. Got AP European history. Yeah. AP Euro. So the one of the more interesting things too is that this was after the course. So this was after the course that they're taking. This was after the AP exam. So while this trip didn't, really affect the AP exam or the course, I think the students were able to, to actually visit places that they had researched and even study it even more so, so it really kind of made it their own and brought it home. So we thank these teachers that, went out on a limb and inspired actually the rest of the staff to take more trips. So that's it. That's our AP program.
Thank you all for those wonderful presentations. Hang on, can't see. All right, do we have any comments from the public? No one? Did you fill out that green sheet?
Yes, I did.
Good, Lieutenant, thank you. Very much.
One of the things, hello, my name is LeBron Head. I have a son that's a junior, I'm going as a freshman here at Hillcrest. And one of the things that I did want to bring up, I understand you guys are building a new website. And with that, that's what I put down in my comments. I was speaking on that. Hillcrest has a lot of hidden gems. It's a lot of things, just like Dr. Young just talked about, that not a lot of people know about. As my son was in 8th grade, I'll be honest, we didn't want him to come here. We were considering moving out, but circumstances led us back. And that summer, I spoke to Dr. Young, and I was very, very adamant when I was asking him, what all do you have to offer? And he took me through it, and he highlighted, the math, he highlighted the STEM program, he talked about the AP program, he talked about the Sylvan Learning Center. And if I hadn't had that conversation, if I had opened up my mouth, if I had just left it to me looking on the website to see what Hillcrest had to offer, I would have never found it. Never. And I would have overlooked it, I would have bypassed it, and it would have been like, they don't have anything to offer. So I'm just speaking up because if it hadn't been for me asking and just, seeing what was already publicly out there or the word of mouth, I think I would have missed out, my kids would have missed out on a great opportunity. So I just want, it's a lot here all. I just need for some way the district to put it out there that, they have so much to offer for this school. And it's not like the school not to go to. It really is a great school to go to. And I'm glad that me and my family are here. And, I just think that it should be promoted more. And you shouldn't have to look and search and find something. You shouldn't have to look so hard to find all the good things that are here because it's buried. It's buried. And I just, speaking about the website that you're building, that should be something that should be easy to find, easy to highlight, easy to promote, easy to celebrate. Because, that's what makes this school. That's all I have to say.
Can I speak for a second? So Jamie is our PR person. She's brand new. She's working on the website, and sometimes we look at the website from our standpoint, from our point of view. So we would really appreciate anybody that could help give us feedback from a parent point of view, what you need to see. So I would encourage you to talk to Jamie and help us make it better.
Absolutely, I have no problem.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for
for
being
doing
here.
that. Any other comments? All right, moving on to the superintendent report.
The Freedom of Information Act request since our last board meeting. Bethany Simpson, Data Acquisition Specialist for Smart Procure, requested all purchasing records from 5/8/18 to current, specifically purchase order number, purchase date, line item details, detailed description of the purchase, line item quantity, line item price, vendor ID number, name, address, contact person, and their email address. This request has been completed. Josh Fine of HBO Real Sports with Brian Gumbel requested the following. The number of boys that played 11-man high school football in the 2012-13 school year and the 2017-2018 school year, and the number of boys who played 11-man football in the 2012, 2013, and 2017-18 school years who received free and reduced lunch, and the percentage of the district's general high school population received free and reduced lunch in the 2012 and 13 school year and the 2017-18 school year. This request has been completed. By law, a compensation report is presented to the school board annually on or before October 1st. This report includes the base salary, benefits, and for specific staff members. The information is also posted on the district's website. So officially, I present President Ressler with the salary report. The Illinois Association of School Boards will recognize Mrs. Evelyn Gleason, Mr. Mark Johnson, Mrs. Leslie Jones, Mrs. Kim Campworth, Mrs. Christine Ressler, and Ms. Debbie Stearns at the ISB South Cook Division meeting on October 30th. The ISB will recognize them for their time and effort that they've devoted to the IASB and the service to public education. Congratulations. Is Devontae or Deshaun here? Sean, come on up. So I present to you, Board of Education, Mr. Deshaun Johnson. He is our official first graduate of the Delta Academy, and we'd like to congratulate him.
Oh, but everybody, yeah, everybody.
Don't run away, we're going to take some pictures. In the back? Oh, yeah, there's the bag. I forgot the bag. There it is. Everybody line up. We have 4 classrooms in the South State. Just started. She'll be quick. Want to go through the road? He's tall.
To brag about him, he finished 3 courses in 3 weeks, and he was averaging anywhere from 4 hours a day, even on Sundays, upwards to 9 hours a day to make sure he was able to finish that.
You want it out, huh?
See your best smile right here. Wow. All right. Any comments from the board members? Any reports from the board members?
Just briefly, I would like to reiterate on, I just want to first congratulate all that participated in different programs at Hillcrest and different other schools, and all your accomplishments, very outstanding. Also, I want to just reiterate on the Southwood Division meeting, which will be held on October 30th at the Doubletree Chicago Allison location. The title is "The Threat of Cyberbullying Poses to School Safety Plus Board Member Recognition." The threat of cyberbullying among students has introduced unsafe realities into schools that negatively impact the students, test the effectiveness of district resources, and foster heightened vigilance of board policy implementation. In the effort to address the repeal of episodes of cyberbullying, districts turn to specialized staff, partner agencies, law enforcement, and legal counsels for approaches to offering reassurance on student safety. So there also will be a panel discussion for that night, and they will share insights on factors a district should consider when confronting the act of student cyberbullying. Panelists will include Miriam T. Brotine, ISD Assistant General Counsel, Kelly Cheney, ED Vice President Elementary of the Illinois School Counselor Association, and Officer John Kaplan, number 78 School Resource Officer and President of the Illinois School Resource Officer Association. ISB Assistant General Counsel Miriam T. Brotine will provide a legal perspective on cyberbullying along with board and policy implementation. Kelly Cheney, Vice President, Elementary of the Illinois School Counselor Association, will share steps counselors perform to proactively and reactively address cyberbullying, social media bullying issues, as well as Officer John Kaplan, number 78 School Resource Officer and the President of the Illinois School Resource Officer Association, will share a law enforcement perspective on addressing social media bullying in schools, along with resources available to address related safety concerns. That's all I have from the announcements.
I just wanted to speak on, I went out to the Oak Forest Hillcrest game and had an opportunity to talk with a couple of administrative staff out there and just get a perspective on how we can better assist them as a board. And it was very informative. I won't go into any details. And the other thing is the law firm that we have. I still think that we should at least put it up for discussion at some point in time to find out where they are really coming from when we are removing board presidents and stuff like that, and they actually work for the board. How are you going to attack one of the board members and then the board member doesn't have any money to fight what is going on with them? Nobody gives up their presidency without wanting to due process, which it doesn't happen. This current law firm out there being a big part of making sure that they remove it. I think it destabilizes the board. We don't even have a vice president right now. Destabilize the board. We need to
examine why we have them in place and that they're doing that.
Normally, I wouldn't want to respond, Mark, but I am going to just make sure that everyone's aware. We did have a conversation about this. We've discussed this on multiple occasions now. The law firm is not the body that removes the president. We are. We made a vote, and we as a board made the decision. So I'm not sure why we're consistently going back to the law firm on this particular item, but due process was granted, and it was not taken advantage of. So I don't know what more we can do to add to that conversation. But
Just put it up for a vote. And let
we've
us
addressed
vote on
this
it.
topic multiple times with you. So
You know, it's not just me.
you are the only one that's coming to me.
You know what? We have to.
Any other comments? All righty.
Just additionally, I'd like to state that I was able to go to a couple of the games, and I just love the camaraderie and how everybody it's just awesome. It almost feels like a college experience. They all the different teams, and I just love their demeanor and their respect for other teams as well. So congratulations on that and those efforts, as well as the band, and they performed very well. Very enjoyable experience all the way around.
Thank you for that, Ms. Jones. Any other comments before we move on? All right, I'm just going to provide a brief summary of a committee of the whole meeting that we had last week, Tuesday, on September 11th. There was a committee of the whole meeting. Present were Mr. Canning, Mrs. Gleason, Mr. Johnson, Mrs. Jones, Mrs. Camworth, Mrs. Stearns, and myself. Absent were none. We also had members from the central office, Dr. Kendall, Dr. Williams, Dr. Goggins, Mrs. Morrison, and Mrs. Taylor present. There was an introduction as to what the committee of the whole meetings will contain going forward. We have restructured our process on how we will be handling. Previously, you may have heard us having committee meetings. We will not be moving forward to a committee of the whole meeting each month, and this discussion was had last week also. We also had a presentation from Mrs. Taylor regarding board documents. Dr. Goggins reviewed the personnel recommendations. We also had the presentation from Mrs. Morrison regarding the finance budget that you had just received today. In addition, Dr. Williams went over the discussion for teaching and learning topics, and there was also a closed session, and the meeting was adjourned at 9:34 p.m. So that was our committee of the whole meeting. Is that okay?
Yep, that's good.
All right. Okay, moving on, 10.1 new business. I would like to, the next topic is the election of a vice president. As Mr. Johnson stated, we currently do not have one, and so I am going to make a motion to have an election for vice president. I don't know if you have.
Mrs. Stearns, I'd like to nominate Larry Canning. Mrs. Pressler, excuse me. I should call you Mrs. Stearns.
Second. All right, we have a motion for Mr. Canning and a second by Mrs. Gleason and a second by Mrs. Camper. Are there any other motions for vice president?
Yeah, I'll nominate Mrs. Jones.
Is there a second? Second. We have a motion by Mrs. Stearns for Ms. Jones and a second by Mrs. Jones. For Jones. Yes. Okay. Any other motions? All right. So we're going to do two votes. First one is for Mr. Canning.
Oh, sorry. Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason, aye. Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
No.
Mrs. Camworth?
Aye.